Welcome to Mixed Vibes, where we take a look at all things holistic and healing. Before we start, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.
Welcome to Mixed Vibes. My name is Maurice Carroll.
And I'm Janice B.
And listen, so today we have a really good subject, I think.
Topic.
Hot topic.
Yeah.
Hot topic. We're going to be talking about race and spirituality and dive into that just a little bit. But as usual, before we do, we got to get into the crystal of the day. So what you got for us today?
The crystal of the day is one that I think people sleep on because it's been around for a long time. Well, most crystals have been around for a long time, but this one has always been a part of jewelry, especially men's jewelry back in the day. But people kind of, I think, forget about it because it's everywhere. But it's tiger's eye. And tiger's eye is really a good all-purpose stone, right? So there's different colors of tiger's eye, but let's just talk about general brown, golden shade tiger's eye. Tiger's eye is like a multi-purpose stone. First of all, it works with the solar plexus chakra. Anything gold or yellowish is going to have that chakra in there, which is going to be power, personal power, confidence, joy, things like that. And then it also has the brown and the blacks through it, so that's more of a protection and grounding stone. So it does all of those things. It protects you, it builds self-confidence, it makes you, the other thing I like about it is it makes you really confident with your own intuition, because it is a tiger's eye, right? So it's about seeing and knowing things and being confident in what you're seeing.
Okay.
It's really working with all of these chakras, even though it's a brown stone. You know, it's not, people go by the chakra colors, but it doesn't always work that way, right?
Right.
The other thing about it, and this is the way I use it a lot, is it's a prosperity stone. It's a money stone.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I'd
a
use it like that
money
as well.
stone.
Yeah.
So it brings money to you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I put it in my
Yes, it
prosperity
does.
grids. Yes, it does. It works. So that's the stone, tiger's eye. Definitely one you have to have in your collection. Absolutely.
It's like the one I have
You
around
just
my
happen
neck.
to be wearing one.
Yay. All right, so I'm glad you said the colors of it for those that are just listening.
That's true.
Because, and segue.
Segue to colors.
Yeah, segue. So, talking about race
Oh, man.
and this spiritual journey and this spiritual climate. And
You know, this is a really deep conversation. It's a topic that I think people avoid. Well, I don't think they avoid
Yeah,
it.
they definitely
I
avoid
know
it.
they avoid it.
right.
Because it's not an easy subject, right?
Right.
And it's multifaceted. It's not ever just a one-time conversation. So I don't know that we can cover everything that we want to talk about in
We
one
wanna-
show. We're gonna do our best.
Right.
We're gonna do
So,
our best. You want to start it out and
yeah, so let's
we'll do point counterpoint.
So I know that it can be a touchy subject, and I think our organization, the Healing Flame Collective, I think our organization is a very good starting point to kind of show what spirituality, what whitewashing is not in spiritual. and
That's true.
You know,
That's true. A really integrative
yeah,
experience.
like it's really what it's supposed to be. We have different races, we have different nationalities, different religious backgrounds, you know,
Right.
the whole nine
Right.
within the Healing Flame Collective. And I think that's one of the things that stands out about us when we're out and we're performing and doing these healing circles and things like that.
Right.
It's not typical to see, you know, as much diversity as what we have. So, the reason why I think that it's important to note, it shouldn't be so different to see.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of that comes from with what we're calling the whitewashing of spirituality, and not just spirituality, but the whole holistic journey and so forth and so on. So I think one of the things we should do is talk about what whitewashing is. Because,
I-
I don't want to throw around terms.
I
and people are
think
like,
there's
what do they
different
mean?"
views about what it is, honestly. Let's rewind just for 1 second. Most of the practices we're doing in the United States of America are from other cultures, right?
Absolutely, yes.
All of them, because this was supposed to be a melting pot of cultures, and it is. It is. And we, learn about yoga. Oh, I want to take yoga for our health benefits and things like that. And whether it's yoga, acupuncture, Reiki, all yoni things, all of that stuff has indigenous backgrounds to
Right,
it.
right.
Shamanism,
Right.
all of those things have indigenous backgrounds to them. Even Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, all those kind of celebrations around ancestors and spirits and things like that are coming from other cultures. And there's African versions of that, there's Mexican versions of that. So all over the world, there are indigenous practices. But when we're taking a practice like yoga, which is not just poses, it's not just it's not an exercise, that's not the way it was. It's an alignment of body, mind, and spirit. And quite often, because we want to make it palpable for Americans, and so it's fun and easy for them, fun and easy to learn, we strip away all of the spiritual parts of it to make it more user friendly for the client or the person doing it. And is that a bad thing? There are bad things about that. It's great that people are embracing cultures,
Right.
but when we take them, change them, and act like we created them,
There it is.
that's when we are whitewashing.
There it is.
And white people do that.
There it
And
is.
I'm a white people, so I can say that.
I'm a white people.
In case they don't see us, they don't know. They don't know what we look like. But that's the whole issue, is if you're practicing a culture and you're not, or practice from a culture, and you're not acknowledging the origins of it, or you're not at least researching the origins of it, that's where it's problematic.
Right.
And there was a post a long time ago. I think it was an IG post. I know I shared it because my mind was blown. This lady was a yoga instructor, and she had been a yoga instructor for a long time, and she traveled around the world and stuff like that. And she was in, I think it was India, with her family. Oh, yeah. The birthplace of yoga, pretty much, and all of these practices, and and she lost her iPhone in the middle of the city. And if you've been to any of the countries like India, it's a chaotic. It seems chaotic to us as Americans. Not that like our cities aren't chaotic, but you know what I'm saying. It's
Listen, we know you're enjoying this episode of Mixed Vibes, but listen, we came to tell you about the healing circles that we do.
That's right. In addition to the main stage things you've seen us do with the whole group, the Healing Flame Collective, with music and live band experience, we also do in-person healing circles where we provide meditation,
Seated Reiki, sound healing, some other things you'll get to know a little bit later when you sign up for these healing circles. And the way that you get on board with us is by sending us an email to thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com.
or visiting us at our website, thehealingflamecollective.com.
Right.
www before that. But we'd love to have you come join us. We also can come to you. So if you're interested in having us come to your home or event and providing an intimate healing circle for your family and friends or your event, we would love to do that. Same thing. Send us an email. Let us know what you need, and we'll help you out.
All right, back to the episode.
Chaotic. It seems chaotic to us as Americans. Not that like our cities aren't chaotic, but you know what I'm saying. It's like a lot going on. And when you're in a different country, you need to follow along with the way they do things. It's not about them bowing down to you because you're an American. So she lost her iPhone in the city. She was staying at this host family's house or something. So the host family actually took, I don't know if they called the number on the phone. Someone answered it and said they had her phone, and they took them on motorbikes down to the city to get this phone from this person in the city. And what was really awful about this is the whole time she was bashing the country, how it was third world and dirty, and I can't believe I've lost my iPhone, I'm never going to find it, and this and that. And she was missing, I can't believe, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful someone found my phone, this phone costs more than their house or something. Like, she was like being really entitled and ignorant. Instead of being grateful and gracious, it was almost that, I'm practicing your culture and I'm putting you down in this post. And people just tore her apart. She had to take her whole website down, and she still didn't get it. She came back with a comeback. I wasn't, the typical, I wasn't trying to offend anyone. I'm not racist.
Yeah, that's that phrase right there.
I'm not racist, but
I wasn't trying to offend anyone. Yeah, but guess what?
But that's the problem, is that we are taking a part of this culture and not giving credit to where it's due, and not honoring the people,
Right.
or the cultures where it comes from.
So I know I've gotten questions as a Reiki master.
Yeah.
And being a black male Reiki master, which, is different in and of itself.
Yeah.
And for me to be unapologetically attached to my culture, with my garb, with how my house is decorated, with the jewelry, the whole nine. I've been approached a number of times with people trying to find out, so you're a Reiki master, what does that mean? And and if you did some research on it, you would understand how Reiki ended up in North America. And some of the questions that have been brought to me was like, well, how are you dealing with that? Like, how are you able to identify with your heritage and identify with Reiki? And I understand energetically what that explanation is, but I know I had some people that I had to explain it a little differently. Like, yeah, okay, yes, this is a spiritual practice, and it's energy. Great, yes. How do I stay with my heritage? How do I stay identified with everything that is me? Here's an explanation. I say, well, regardless of where Reiki, however it came to North America, however it got passed down to the Reiki masters before me, all the way down to you, and then how you taught me, my answer is that, well, if you think about where human life originated, and the practices of where human life originated, and the practices of where human life originated in Africa, then what comes out of Africa is African. That's the origin of it. So Reiki is not something that I look at where it came from some other culture. To me, it came from our culture and got passed down and through different cultures and made its way back to me.
Right.
That's the way that I explain it. And I know that when questions like that arise, it's because of how media, be it regular, social, whatever, how it portrays how holistic lifestyles, and like you said, Reiki and yoga and so forth, what all of those practices look like.
Yeah.
And so when you have people that are in front of the cameras, that are getting the media sponsorship and paying for X, Y, and Z so that they can be in front of you, when you see people of other cultures or other descents doing it, it's like, it's the way that it's positioned is like, yo, you're joining us now. And it's not. So one of the things,
you've discovered it. Like,
yeah,
it
that's what I
didn't
was gonna say.
exist before.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's like, for me, when you're talking about whitewashing, it's the information is taken, and like you said, it's misused. It's as misused in a sense of, we made this up, we adjust this, now it's easy.
Let's have fun with it.
Yeah. And it's like, well, let's address what you took away. Let's address the why is it easier, and those parts that made it harder, like how intricate, how important were they?
Right. And there's another side of the coin, and I get this side, I really do. And I have people that I really look up to that feel this way, and they're like, it's energy, it's all about love, it's all about intention. It doesn't matter what your physical body looks like in energy world. That we all can learn these things, we all can help each other, we all can benefit. And why do we have to talk about race? Well, I get that, and they're right. We are more than our skin color. We are more than who we are right now in this plane of existence, and who we've been before may not be who we are now if you believe in past lives, right? So I get that, and that's absolutely a true statement. But the problem is, like you said, when we're not recognizing the origins of things, we are erasing them. We are washing them out to make them comfortable for other people. And that's one of the reasons why, I don't think I ever told you this, that I stopped for a long time taking yoga classes. I was taking yoga classes back in the dinosaur times, like my son would say. Did they have dinosaurs back then? Yes, they did. They were in yoga class with me. But I was taking yoga back kind of when it's right before it started to get really popular and user-friendly. Like I want to say like in the mid-90s maybe. And I had a teacher who was very, pretty hard. Like he pushed you, and he also started every class with a lesson about the principles of yoga, what this means, what this word means, how you're supposed to carry yourself. I mean, it was more than just posing and doing these positions and stretching our backs down and stuff. As a matter of fact, most of it was more about the history of yoga and how it came to be. And we always had a lesson before we did our yoga poses and stuff, or whatever our lesson was for that day. When he left, they brought in a lot of new teachers that they do a teacher training program, and that's great. And the students can learn to be teachers, and they become teachers. And I went to this class with this lady, and she was very nice, but that's exactly what she said. Let's just have fun with it. I'm like, I don't want to have fun with it. It's a discipline for me.
Right.
It's something that I want to understand, and I want to practice it in the correct way, and I want to make sure that also my physical posture is correct. I don't want to hurt myself. It's not fun. It's not fun to hurt your back. That's not a fun thing. So that to me is that let's make it real friendly and kumbaya for everybody, and we'll all just have a good time and do the best we can, and that's great, and depending on what kind of class you're teaching. But again, we're missing the whole history of yoga and what it is. We're just practicing, and it's a new thing to practice, and it is good for your body and your mind and your spirit. It is. It really is. So it's good that it's helping people, but they're not getting the whole picture. Same thing with Reiki. You learn what you were taught from your Reiki master and whoever they learned it from. That's what the lineage is, right?
Right.
But traditionally in Japan, as a practice of energy healing, Reiki was not for everybody. Reiki was an exclusive group of people that did this, and Takata brought it to the United States. So I think it's pretty cool that a woman brought it to the United States.
Especially when she brought it.
When she brought it, and a woman that wasn't a white woman either, right? So, she brought it here. She started teaching people. She trained her masters, but she herself did not follow these strict rules. From what I understand, she didn't even have a book she followed.
Right.
She had a different class every time, and she didn't, all of these things that are so important to us to learn, I'm learning are not the traditional way, right? So even with Reiki, people take Reiki and make it easier. People take Reiki and change it. And again, another side of that coin. Okay, well, it's energy. We can all do what we want with it, but it gets really janky.
It does.
It gets very homogenized. That's a good word.
So look.
Homogenized.
All right, I'm going to...
Like milk. Like white milk.
So there is... I'm going to get your feedback on this one, because this is one of the things that... Listen, we know you're enjoying this episode. of Mixed Vibes. But listen, we came to tell you about the healing circles that we do.
That's right. In addition to the main stage things you've seen us do with the whole group, the Healing Flame Collective, with music and live band experience, we also do in-person healing circles.
Yep.
Where we provide what? Meditation,
Seated Reiki, sound healing, some other things you'll get to know a little bit later when you sign up
Right.
for these healing circles. And the way that you get on board with us is by sending us an email to thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com.
or visiting us at our website, thehealingflamecollective.com.
Right.
www before that. But we'd love to have you come join us. We also can come to you. So if you're interested in having us come to your home or events and providing an intimate healing circle for your family and friends or your event, we would love to do that. Same thing. Send us an email. Let us know what you need, and we'll help you out.
All right, back to the episode. So there is, I'm going to get your feedback on this one because this is one of the things that it sounds so whitewashing to me.
Okay.
And it makes my skin crawl. And it's going to hurt to even say it.
I know what you're going to, I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
It's
I'm afraid.
like, I can't stand when people say, especially in energy work field, I don't see color.
I knew you were going to say that.
I can't stand that. And so for me, the reason behind that is, like, first of all, you're taking away the very first thing that you do see. You're taking away the very first impression, and you're trying to say, oh, well, I don't see that. I understand what they're trying to say.
It's that we're all one under the universe.
I get what they're trying to say. But to
it.
me, when you do that, now you're taking away some of the things that are important to me and why I'm doing energy work.
And the respect of your experience.
Your
skin.
Yeah. It's like, I don't see color.
Okay.
Like,
well, that's the way I explain it to people when people, because I've had people block me. I just had a Facebook memory come up the other day where we were talking about, my post was to white parents. This is a long time ago because Alex was in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain what's going on in the media? I can't remember if it was the Alton Sterling killing or Sandra Bland. It was something that was going on that they were talking about, another murder of a black person by the cops. I said, how do you explain these things to your child? Because they know about this stuff. Even if they're little, they may have brothers and sisters that have internet that they're talking about it. They see it, right? And you have to talk about these things. I just wanted to know what their conversations were. And people were angry. People were like, why are you talking? These are adult conversations. Why are you telling your child about this? I said, because my child, first of all, my child's not white. Second of all, it's something that happens to his classmates. It's something that could happen to his classmates, and he needs to understand what that means. Well, I don't see why we have to talk about it. We don't, I tell my kids that we don't see color and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, black people can't say that. Black people have to see color because they have to deal with what happens to them in their skin, And I'm trying to make this lady who's way older than I am and should know better understand something that, to me, I'm just asking you. Well, I guess she answered it. She doesn't tell her kids. That's but her kids are grown. I'm like, your kids are grown. This conversation has nothing to do with you. They're already grown. Well, I don't think you should be talking to me about it. I said, well, I disagree. I think that I absolutely should be talking to him about it in age-appropriate terminology. You know what I mean? But you can't lay hands on somebody as a Reiki practitioner or whatever your healing modality is. You can't not see that person. You have to see that person. Because when you say, I don't see color, you're saying, I don't see you. I don't see the things that you have to deal with that I don't have to deal with. And that's definitely a very white privilege statement.
Right.
Let's talk about white privilege.
Wait, look, that's another show.
People want to beat me up on Facebook. Listen,
so
I go in.
All right. So one of the things I think is important, like a lot of people, we can always talk about how the whitewashing has affected holistic life and energy workers and who is in front of the camera, who's not. all of those things. But one thing I don't hear a lot of are like, what are the solutions? How can we
Yeah.
fix? How can we make adjustments? How can we, turn the corner a little bit so that way when you see people who don't look like you doing something that you do,
Right.
without saying I don't see color, how can it be a better embrace? How can the respect of the history, kind of come to light and be more recognized instead of shunned away, like,
Right.
so for example, when we're talking about our ancestors, and like, remember when we just not too long ago we did a circle, and went through a libation ceremony at the beginning of it,
Right.
and getting people to understand what that tradition is. And I think that things like that, for me, I think that's an example of kind of breaking down the barrier and saying, okay, yes, we are energy workers, but in my culture, this is how we recognize, this is how we celebrate, this is how we remember. And then here's the tradition. This is how you do it. So now I'm bringing them in a little bit more.
Right.
What? Why do you think that that may not be happening as often as it should be?
I feel honestly that the brunt of this falls on the shoulders of white people. I feel like white people need to speak up. They need to educate themselves because, quite honestly, and my life experience is different than a lot of other people's experience. I mean, we all have different experiences, but I really know that there are people that are leading these classes that do not know any black people. They do not have anybody in their circle who is not white. And when I say that, I mean, they're like, oh, I work with black people. That's not the same thing.
Right.
You don't live, interact, socialize, are not in the community of people who don't look like you. And that's the first step of all learning.
So how would they do that?
Take your ass somewhere where you can see some black people. I shouldn't have said that. TJ Craig is going to get mad at me. No, honestly, you can't hide behind your little white world and say you understand something that you don't associate with, But you also need to be real about things. You have to be honest about the things that you benefit from that are at the expense of other people, right? You have to be honest and understand what white privilege is. And people do not understand what white privilege is. They absolutely do not understand that me walking into a store may not have the same effect as you walking into a store.
Right.
Maybe, or you, I know for certain that I could walk out of a store with something and be like, oh, it was an accident. No, they wouldn't call the police. That wouldn't happen. When the police pull me over, it's usually friendly and amicable, and I'm on my way with a little warning or just be careful, drive a little safer. That does not happen
Right, not at all.
to my black family and my friends. And I know it doesn't because I've seen it. I've seen it. So it's not that I'm hearing about it. I've seen it, But you can't make people do something that's not, nobody's going to go out and hang out places that they're not comfortable with. But at the same time, they need to learn about other cultures. You need to learn about, and these are people that are living next door to them. They don't know anything about them. Your kids are going to school with people, and you don't know anything about how they do their hair. You don't know anything about their culture. You don't know anything about their religions. You don't know anything about them. And that's really horrible to me.
I think it takes a certain amount of humbleness
Yes.
to do that, and I think it's difficult for those that whitewash these things. I think it's difficult
They get offended.
to say, okay, listen, you really should research this a little bit more. You should find out the history. Oh no, love and light. I'm and then the
Energy's for all of us, man.
yeah, and it becomes a position of avoidance.
Yeah.
And the avoidance is the whitewashing.
It is.
And it's like, well, if we don't talk about it, it'll go away. And it's like, no, that's what the problem is.
Honestly, there's a lot of ignorance. Like I don't think people think I'm playing African drumming And I'm not thinking about the fact that, hey, I'm not African. I don't know any Africans. I've never been to Africa, but I got this African drum and let's have some fun. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's have some fun. That's great. But, I always post the ads whenever I see them on Facebook where somebody's like really corny looking with their good drum or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
learn African drumming. And it's this white guy like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah. That's.
it's so cringy to me. And it's the same thing with all of that stuff. It's like, you shouldn't be teaching that. It's like
Right. Right.
or if you are
Right.
teaching it, bring in people that can, assist you with where this is coming from. And I'm not saying this person could have gone to Africa and learned it, but they should know that it's not a good look. It's not a good look, it's not. And I think, like with our group, the Healing Flame Collective, we have a reputation of having integrity.
Right.
Everyone who's in our group.
Right. Right.
It doesn't matter. And I can literally say it doesn't matter what color they are.
Right.
Everyone has their own, I don't want to say persona, but they've done their own thing on their own. And they have a certain level of integrity that they bring to the group.
Right.
So we know that, Masno may not worship the way somebody else does, but Masno's our family, and that's how we all treat each other. And we're leading by example, which is another thing that white people can do. Is lead by example. If you are the person who understands these things, sometimes you have to be the advocate. Sometimes you have to swoop in and put your 2 cents in and speak up. I've had women that are students of mine, black women, that have said, can you say something to her? Like this person on their post, like a white person's is arguing with them about racism or something. Can you say something to her? Because it's like they don't feel like their voice is being heard. And they want somebody white to come in and put this person in their place. And that's really sad that it has to be that way, that this person can't allow a black person to have their own experience and their own voice.
Well, I want to go to the other side of the table with that one. So, I am from the school of, what was it? I can't think of the name of the TV show. It was a comedy, and the guy was, it's two of them. One was on In Living Color when Damon Wayans was playing the educated
Oh, yeah.
a black guy behind bars.
Yeah, the guy in prison
and
with all
using
the kente cloth and all that.
Yeah, but using a whole bunch of big
Yeah.
words. And then it was, I can't remember what movie it was
know what you're
in.
talking
There's
about.
another movie where the character, he was like the whole song, he was like, I'm black, y'all. I'm blackity black, and I'm black, y'all, because I'm black, and then black. And that was the whole scene. So I understand that side, right? The whole militant, all black or nothing else kind of mentality. I get it. I'm from that school. I'm from that school. I think we need to find a way where people who are from that line of education, from that line of heritage, that line of strength, to find ways that we can educate in a way where what our truth is, and it doesn't come across angry.
Yes.
And so, and it's like, okay, listen, let me teach you, and then do the education part of it in a way where the people that need to hear it can understand it from a perspective of, yes, you're being corrected, but this is also just plain truth, and you really need to understand it. Versus, oh, we don't need to talk about it. I'm feeling attacked. I'm feeling, oh wait, what's the word? Triggered.
Triggered.
I'm feeling triggered.
They cry. That's my
Let's. I don't see color. Let's.
Why
just
are you guys being so
love and
mean to me?
light
I love
and,
black people.
Yeah.
They start crying. I'm like, oh my God. Here we
Yeah,
go.
I think it's going to have to be on both sides of the table. I think it has to be some tactical ways that we can meet in the middle and say, okay, from one side to say, hey, I don't know, and I can admit that I don't know, and I'm willing to learn. And then on the other side of the table saying, okay, this is what you need to know, and this is the truth regardless of what you think that it is. Here's the truth, here are the facts, and this is what happened, and you have to kind of own it. I think it kind of has to happen on both sides. And
There's a lot of work that has to be done, for sure.
it definitely does. But I'm grateful for my walk in that because I know and interact with both sides. I understand the energy side. I understand the religious folk side. I understand the color issues. I understand all of it. So I think that I'm in a unique position of understanding. But the challenge becomes, okay, how do I play referee?
Yeah, exactly.
How do I do? What's the line? Like I see things on social media all the time where I'm like, you shouldn't have said that. Or you're overstepping just a little bit. You need to pull that back. Or people that who shall remain nameless, and I'm not going to go too far
Uh-oh.
because the hints would give it away too much.
Okay.
But there's certain people that kind of misappropriate cultures, make a profit from it, and
assume that identity.
yeah, and
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and so things like
It's a
that.
couple of them, actually.
Things like that. It should be a coat tug. Like, hey, listen, let me talk. Right? Listen.
Yeah.
This is kind of offensive.
Some of those people are really ingrained in the community as well, and people are either really bamboozled by them, and don't want to say anything, or they do feel like you're saying, and they don't feel like they can, or they don't feel it's worth the effort. Really, I think. First of all, it's way different, way more than us just teaching people and stuff like that. It needs to go way back because we're learning now with like critical race theory and everybody's freaking out about that we're not learning things in school. In the United States, that whole chapter is gone. It's like and then there were slaves, and then we go on to something else, and I'm like, but. I actually was sitting in because we were doing the virtual learning. I was sitting in on my son's history class or his geography class and history class, and they were going in depth with how the the enslaved people were brought here, and how they fought and what happened, and in detail. And I was like, we did not learn that when I was in school. We absolutely did not. So there is this whole demographic of people who have never heard that. So now they're offended, like, oh my gosh, you're calling my ancestors colonizers and rapists and this and that. And I said, well, a lot of them were. A lot of them were. And you're
facts.
You can't undo what has been done. You can't go back and make excuses for that. You have to own it and move forward in a different direction. But you living in a bubble where you don't know anybody or anything, or how these things happened, or your unwillingness to learn and teach your children is the problem. That's a big part of the problem. And that's where we have to start, I think, is we have to make people aware that there's something to learn. Because, you can say, oh, I'm going to play this African drum, and you don't think about the fact that this is a cultural thing that I need to go back. I'm teaching African drumming, and I'm Irish. I need, and there is Celtic drumming. There is, there's all that whole part of the world. It also has drumming of its own. But if you're teaching African drumming, at least give a little shout out to Africa and learn something about Africa and work with other African drummers and learn some history, and don't just pop up one day, you were working at the post office yesterday and now you're an African drummer. It's like,
with mad
and your
hair.
name is Sean or something. You know what I'm saying? Like your name is like Ethan or something like that.
And put on a dashiki.
Right.
Listen, we know you're enjoying this episode of Mixed Vibes, but listen, we came to tell you about the healing circles that we do.
That's right. In addition to the main stage things you've seen us do with the whole group, the Healing Flame Collective, with music and live band experience, we also do in-person healing circles where we provide meditation,
seated Reiki, sound healing, some other things you'll get to know a little bit later when you sign up.
Right.
For these healing circles. And the way that you get on board with us is by sending us an email to thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com.
Or visiting us at our website, thehealingflamecollective.com.
Right.
www before that. But we'd love to have you come join us. We also can come to you. So if you're interested in having us come to your home or event and providing an intimate healing circle for your family and friends or your event, we would love to do that. Same thing. Send us an email. Let us know what you need, and we'll help you out.
All right, back to the episode.
We didn't see color, right? But somewhere along the line, people move apart. So these people you work with or went to school with, you have nothing in common with them. You don't know anything about them and what they've been through. And you think you're the same because you went to school with them. You think that because you came up with them in the same neighborhood that you're the same. So you don't, when someone says you have white privilege, you don't want to hear that. That's offensive to people. They don't want to hear that they're privileged. They think that means that they were born wealthy or were given some favor that other people weren't given, but you were.
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah, they were.
You weren't given it. You didn't ask for it. You didn't earn it. It's not your fault. Your skin is white, but you do benefit, in this country at least, under white supremacy. You absolutely benefit on these systems that were created that keep black people down. And if you don't acknowledge that, then you really are a part of the problem.
All right, so
We're getting deep.
Let's. I was like, let's go ahead. We
Reel
here now.
back in.
No, we here. So we want. All right, so systems. I think. Nope, I know. One of the biggest systems to whitewashing any type of spirituality, whitewashing, holistic, I try to list it, how people gonna remember it, but any type of whitewashing, I believe, came from the indoctrination of the Abrahamic religions.
Yes. Absolutely.
With the emphasis on Christianity.
Absolutely.
And so since I'm going to turn it this way so that we can stay, because I know we can easily veer off and go.
Black people and women.
Yeah, so with Christianity specifically.
You get ready to go into this topic. Here we go. Let's go.
We're going. We're already here. So
let's make everybody mad.
I think in terms of I think it's a great example of whitewashing because just as much as they used their religion to enslave the minds and culture of African people to believe in something else and to literally beat it into them. Take African practices.
I was just going to say that.
Turn it, and like we said at the beginning, turn it to make it seem like they came up with it. And now here's this new packaged thing that kind of looks like what you did over there, but that's not right. That's wrong. You got to go with this over here. And then to kind of shun it and
kill people for practicing their own religions that they stole.
Or not talk about it. Try to say, oh, well, this is for everybody. No, it's not, because we were already doing that, and you took especially okay, I'm gonna go down this road a little bit, and then we're gonna come back.
This is a long and winding road.
So, if you think about the practices that religions tell you not to do, what they deem as pagan. Usually using the word incorrectly.
Don't get me started.
I know.
Don't get me started.
The terms come up like that, and they are saying, "Oh, don't practice that," or "That's witchcraft," not knowing the term, not knowing what witchcraft is. But then when you hold up the mirror to them,
eating the body of Christ,
and you're doing what you're telling people not to do, you're saying, "Oh, well, you shouldn't be." Like you said, eating, or you shouldn't be doing rituals.
Blood rituals.
But you do blood rituals.
You drink the blood of Christ every first Sunday of the month in the Methodist Church.
Well, you got to be wary of people that use symbols all the time. But you make the sign of the cross, though. So things like that, where you're trying to, you're whitewashing the things that were indigenous.
And if we're talking about Jesus, who was not a white person, and who was not didn't position himself in a place as better than other people. He walked with people who were sick. He walked with poor people. He was probably the greatest sorcerer of all time, right? I mean, if you really want to get, if we're going to read stories about Jesus turning water into wine and all the things that he did and walking on water, that's straight up sorcery, okay? So it's interesting to me that people are so blind about reading things from the Bible and, like you said, shunning these other practices without just stopping and thinking, what am I doing? And why do we do this? Just ask the question. Just if you can't ask the question, there's a problem. If you can't say, why is Jesus white in this book? If you can't say, why are we drinking the blood of Christ, but blood rituals are witchcraft? Where does this come from? I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever, but at least people don't look into it because they've never been told to look in it. They're afraid to look into it.
Just ask the question.
They've been
Ask the
brainwashed.
question.
They've been brainwashed. But that's why you see so many people exploring their roots and exploring spirituality on a different level, because the church is not cutting it for people. The church is still discriminating against people. The church still oppresses Black people and women, or monetizes things and oppresses people in that way as well. So people are like, this doesn't make sense to me. You're not practicing what you preach. So let me find out. I don't feel right here anymore. Let me see where I feel right. And they go back to their indigenous practices, or they learn about these practices. And we have so much more information now. We can look everything up on the internet. We can go to a different country in 5 seconds online. We can do our DNA, our ancestry.
You can read a book.
You can read a book. But, there's so much more. You're allowed to do these things. And we have to understand that even our parents and grandparents didn't have access to this information, or were afraid to ask those questions because they would be beaten or hurt or killed, And we can't undo the past. We just have to keep moving forward and walking with integrity as best we can, especially as white people. We have to really see color. We have to try to understand how our energy in the situation affects things. We've had this conversation before. There's things where I'll be like, maybe somebody else should be leading this, or maybe somebody else should do this. And I've told students,
right.
I'm not the one that can help you. I will help you, but I think you should be talking to somebody who's Black. And I've told people that, and that's unheard of in most energy workers' vocabularies. You don't hear people turning away clients because they're white and the client's Black. And don't get me wrong, I don't turn away, pretty much all my clients are Black, but I'm saying there are things, ancestral things, that maybe I know, if I'm as intuitive as I claim I am, I should know that. Because if it's not about color, you should be able to feel that, right? You should be able to feel that there's something else that someone else has to deal with, or someone else has to help them and guide them. You can't take somebody on a past life regression when you look like their oppressor.
Right.
Boom.
Right. There we go. Listen,
people don't want to hear that.
That's one way we could end it right there.
People do not want to
right
hear
there.
that. You're absolutely right. Energy does not know color. Energy, we're all the same color energetically, unless you're looking at auras, which is a whole different thing. But our life experiences in our physical bodies now affect our health and our healing and our energy, right? So it is important to see people's color. It's important to honor and respect people for who they are and where you are, and keep learning. Everybody. And you also, on the other side of that, there are a lot, and we know this as well, there are a lot of Black people who will not include white people in things, and will not teach them things, and will not take them as clients, and will not go to them. And they have every right to feel that way. But at some point there has to be, like you said, let's come together and talk about this. Let's make this work. There has to be a humility on both sides in some kind of way, because they don't owe white people anything, right?
Right.
But if you want people to learn and ask about culture and further their practice and what they're doing and understand the background of what they're doing, they're going to have to ask questions. And there has to be someone who can facilitate that. And that's us. I think that might be us. But I feel like people do ask us that a lot.
Yep.
People do come to us because they look at our group, and our group is everybody. So
with that said,
that's a lot.
So
that's a lot.
We'll do this. We'll say, because we mentioned our group several times.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested, which I'm sure after this conversation you are,
They're going to be like, oh my God.
Listen, go to thehealingflamecollective.com. You can check out a lot of information there. The same tag on social media, the Healing Flame Collective, on whatever social media
Every platform.
Yeah, whatever social media platform that's hot at the moment, I'm sure we'll be on it. But yeah, let's leave it there because we left a lot of thought questions. If people want to ask us questions or find out more about other episodes or have topics that they want us to kind of talk about and discuss, they can hit us there as well. They can DM. They can email us at thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com.
Yep.
And yeah, that's a wrap. So until next
That
time,
was a
this
deep
has
one.
been Mixed Vibes. Again, my name is Maurice Carroll.
And I'm Janice B.
See y'all later. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Mixed Vibes. If you liked this episode, remember to subscribe to our channel. You can find us on social media at The Healing Flame Collective, and you can email us at thehealingflamecollective@gmail.com with your topic ideas. See you next time.